Every winter, people ask us the same thing. What's an all-wheel drive, four-door fun car
for less than $30,000?
And we always say,
WRX. But if you buy used, you could have these. We all drive cars every day. They need to meet our budget and our needs, but they should also be fun. That's our whole premise.
We're a small outlet, and we love what we do.
For YouTube, we do these big comparisons like the one you're about to see, but we also do single cars with our fast blasts and long turns.
Outside YouTube, once a year we make a huge feature film. From the only full retrospective of the 911's first 50 years, to a celebration of affordable exotics and amazing roads, to the ultimate enthusiast road trip across Germany.
Plus, every week we do an audio podcast, The Car Debate, where we help you find a fun car that fits your situation.
So we hope you'll join us for all of it. Subscribe, please make comments, and make sure to share.
It's been a long time since we've driven Audis. I mean, properly driven them. We're on dry roads, but this is about ownership year-round, because you still want to have fun when these things are on Blizzaks. I had a B6, the Avant Wagon B6, so that was an 04 Avant Wagon. I really like that car, and getting back into these Audis make me really miss that thing.
The B5 generation of the Audi A4, that was the first one to get an RS4. They skipped the B6, this is the B7, the 2007 Audi RS4. And it was the first one that they've made, and the only one so far that is a sedan version. And interestingly, it's also the one that came to America to get us all excited about it.
So to see this car driving around is very rare. Only 10,000 of these were built worldwide, and only 2,000 made it to the US.
This is the next generation of the A4 platform, known internally as the B8. Now, there is an RS4 for this chassis, but of course, it didn't come to the US. So if you're saying, why don't you have two RS4s? We can't. But when you consider that this generation's RS4 also comes with a dual clutch gearbox, this stick shift version is kind of the closest we can get.
This is a 2011 S4. And this is a perfect example of how to buy your Audi, because he got it with about 37,000. It was just a couple years old. Now it's got 60 and it feels new. For the climate that we're driving in, it's perfect. This is where you want to own these cars. Before they changed everything, longer wheelbase, different package, I felt like this was the best looking of all of them. And I love the wider stance, I love the track width, I love how aggressive this car looks. I love the kind of older interior. I mean, it sounds strange just to think that this car is old now, but it's 10 years old.
It isn't bad, but it's not flashy, it's not modern, it's fine.
My thought was, how are these interiors going to hold up? Well, the owner of this one specifically hunted for the manual transmission, the Alcantara seats. It's the S-line, really the way to go, rather than the leather that seemingly doesn't really hold up over time. It's hard to believe this is a 2011 car. I mean, it still feels brand new.
And I got in this car this morning and went, oh yeah, that's right, because this was the version that we talked about, the Fobgina, which I just don't have another idea for what we're supposed to call that. One of the things I really like actually is the way they've integrated the nav screen here. Of course, this has multiple changeable drive modes, comfort, auto, and dynamic. We're gonna go straight to dynamic. I'm seduced by this engine. I like the noise, I like the attitude of it. It's mechanical, it has personality. I mean, so many engines now that they're all becoming turbocharged. It's this wave of torque that doesn't really have a personality about it. And yet here in the RS4, it's all about the personality of this engine. It's an engine I liked even in the R8, and yet here it is in sedan form. It's almost like, do you want your first gen R8 in 4-door or 2-door?
There's a lot of cars with more power. Yes, there are. But the way this car makes power and that shove. And remember, this is a different split of quattro all-wheel drive. This is a different percentage split here. 420 horsepower out of this thing. Kind of useless when you're behind a Honda Accord that's really poking along.
And the passing commences. That's how we do that. Hey, look, I'm going quickly on a back road with some ice. That was good planning. But put your foot in it and it's just that great growl, that wonderful, naturally aspirated build of torque. It's just an engine with personality. It's got a mechanical sound to it. It's angry that it's even alive.
Oh man, there's the power. Above 5 is where this thing just comes on like crazy. 5, 6, 7, it's not being stressed. What's so interesting about this is the S4 makes about 100 less horsepower than this car does. That forced induction is magic because this car, you think, well, it's got more power. Well, it is heavier. It doesn't feel any faster, and on paper, it isn't.
The biggest change in personality between these two generations is, of course, the engine, because we've gone from that great naturally aspirated V8 to a supercharged V6. However, it actually has more torque because, of course, it's got forced induction. So you don't really feel like you got any slower. Now, you lost a lot of engine personality. It just works, it provides power, doesn't have anything to say about itself, isn't really that interesting, but powerful. In fact, this S4 is every bit as fast as that older RS4 without as much of a chuckle.
I actually like the S4 better, and I'm actually faster on this straightaway. Audis are so quiet. This car just moves. You'd think, well, yeah, there's plenty of stuff you could do to it to mod it up, but why?
You put your foot down in any gear, you're going faster, which is great. There's less to learn and discover here. Okay, we're going quickly. That's actually just about the fastest I've been on this road now that I think about it.
This is a ferocious car. You can just attack anything. Track, open road. I really do feel like it's the pinnacle of Audi doing its naturally aspirated, just gobs of horsepower kind of thing.
Both of these Audis today have got the same exact tires on it. They're both running Bridgestone Blizzak, so we're on full winter tires. They are softer than a performance tire and they are going to give up sooner, so we got to be aware of that. The thing is, though, this is such a confidence-inspiring chassis. I feel like any speed I want to go, in any weather, this is ready.
It's fast, it tracks well. It's just not the dynamic, precision, sharp tool that we love. You throw this into a corner like this, you can feel that nose pushing, but it's still so fast and capable, even on Blizzaks.
Off the gas, you can tell the weight's up front, but when you're on the gas, you get the rotation out of it and the agile feel that you wouldn't expect for a weight balance like this. And that sensation of understeer and weight in the wrong place that kind of plagues Audis is kind of banished here. Especially when you have your foot on the gas, to allow that front end to actually be active and be tugging you out versus just trying to plow. It also helps that this has got a pretty tight steering rack. I mean, it's in the range of like the S2000s and the FRSs of the world. So when you duck it in, it follows really quickly.
You really do have to be moving fast in this car for it to start putting a smile on your face. The E7 generation still had the hydraulic steering. I'm trying to note a difference, and it's difficult. The engine making this car nose heavy sort of contradicts and counteracts any goodness that hydraulic steering would give you.
That RS4 hunkers in the corner and then blasts through. This, it's just a little bit softer across the board, which is kind of to be expected when you go from the RS version to the S version. I remain very impressed by the fact that this S4, though, is every bit as fast as that RS4, and I would say it's probably just easier to extract than it would be from the RS4 as well. But just in general, this S4 doesn't tell me nearly as much through the steering wheel as the RS4 does. Now, a lot of that is just down to the fact that this is an electronic steering rack. The RS4, of course, is hydraulic, and the car's just more raw in general.
Having just gotten out of the RS4 and into this car, I definitely feel less understeer. And you know what? I like the electric rack better.
The dynamic mode actually does change the steering ratio. It gives it a tighter ratio. However, it's still not as tight a steering ratio as we found on that RS4. It doesn't feel nearly as sharp and crisp. This has insulated you just a bit, just a little layer.
The big question about both these Audis is the steering wheel feedback, because yes, that Quattro and the weight of the all-wheel drive system does interfere with that really light, crisp handling that we love. There's always the trade-off of all-wheel drive or Quattro is going to take away a little bit of that steering feel. It just will.
It's plenty precise, it's just there's no real road information. That's all been muted out, even in the dynamic steering, which is sharper. It's just not really giving me much that I can take away as, oh, okay, I'm getting information. It's just not telling me much.
So my question for you is this the Toyota Camry of performance sedans? It just does everything so well. It checks all these boxes on the list. I want to get out going, wow, and it is good, but I want to just go drive.
A very different feel than you had in that RS4. It feels far more organic than this, and when you put power into the front wheels of that RS4, you can feel what's going on through the wheel. Power on, power off in this car, steering feel never changes.
Even though it's 10 years old, as of this point, I'd still own this car. It's just a hammer. It's a luxurious, fun, rare hammer.
I think about it in relation to the same generation M3, E90 or E92 generation M3, and this is a great alternative.
The engineering, the refinement is so good on the S4. I want it to have more personality. And I don't mean I want Audi to just go a little ways. I want Audi to get drunk and dance on the bar, half naked, and kind of do something crazy and outrageous.
The cool thing is these cars are also comparable. You can get them used for somewhere around 20 grand or maybe spend as much as 40. That's to either get that RS4 or the S4. And if you've had WRXs or STIs, you like that kind of all-wheel drive confidence. Here it is in a more refined form. Personally, I prefer the RS4, but that doesn't mean this is bad.
I feel like we're letting it hang out a little bit. That's what I liked so much about this RS4 when it came out. I wish we had other RS4s in the United States, but this is the only one we get. So until Audi comes back with the RS4, which will probably not be manual transmission, and most likely an Avant, it will be the wagon. These are rare, these are hard to find, and I'd still take one.
This is just an all-wheel drive menace. It feels like an upscale version, like you've graduated up from the WRX STIs of the world, and you've gone to that same feel, but a little bit more precise and a lot nicer.
I'd own it. It'd be the kind of do everything ski car, commute to work, do everything in the snow kind of car. But it wouldn't be considered my fun car. I'd still have something crazy and angry and fun and hot in addition to this one.
I mean, this is most everything I like about the RS4, further refined, except also just kind of rounded off at the edges. Now, maybe that makes it a more usable car for you. For me personally, it's lost just a little bit of edge of personality that makes me go, no, I'd rather have the RS4.
Don't forget to subscribe for videos on Thursdays.